Okay, so when I say the word heritage, what pops into your head? You probably picture something old, right? Something grand, maybe a castle or a museum piece sitting safely behind glass. But what if I told you heritage isn't something we just find? What if it's something we actively make? A powerful tool we use to shape our present and our future. Let's dive in.
So let's get right to it. What is heritage? Take a look at these four images. We've got ancient ruins, a public statue, a simple park bench, and a graffiti wall. Now, most of us would look at the ruins and say, yep, that's heritage, no question. But what about the others? Here's the twist. I'm going to argue that all four of these can be heritage, and understanding how is the key to unlocking the politics of the past.
The first thing we absolutely have to get straight is this. History and heritage are not the same thing, not even close. Think of it like this. History is the entire, massive, dusty library of everything that has ever happened. It's overwhelming, right? Heritage, on the other hand, is that curated display right at the front of the library. It's the very specific selection of books, of stories, that we choose to pull off the shelves and put on show today, for a reason.
You know, the geographer Gregory Ashworth just puts it perfectly here. The past is gone, it doesn't exist anymore. So when we're talking about heritage, we're not actually talking about the past itself. We're talking about the choices we make in the present about which bits of that history we want to use and why. Heritage is always a contemporary product. So, and this is the big takeaway. We don't just find heritage lying around. We make it. It's an active process. It's a verb, heritization. It's that moment we point to an old building or a tradition or a story and we say, you know what? This matters. This is part of who we are now.
And this, of course, leads to the most important question of all. If heritage is a choice, then who gets to choose? Who has the power to decide which stories get put on that display at the front of the library and which ones get left in the dark, dusty stacks?
Well, that question brings us to this really important idea from a scholar named Laura Jane Smith, the Authorized Heritage Discourse, or AHD for short. The easiest way to think about the AHD is as the official rulebook. It's the dominant, expert-driven narrative that has pretty much defined what gets to be called heritage in the Western world. And this official rulebook has a few key principles. Rule number 1, it's got to be monumental. We're talking big, impressive buildings. 2, it has to be beautiful, aesthetically pleasing. 3, you got to trust the experts. The architects, the archaeologists, the art historians, they get the final say. And finally, number 4, it treats heritage as if it's frozen in stone, a static thing to be preserved exactly as is forever.
But here's the massive problem with that. This official story, with its obsession with grand, physical things, often completely ignores the heritage that actually matters in the day-to-day lives of ordinary people. It overlooks the intangible stuff, the stories, the memories, the community traditions that really give a place its soul.
So you can see the collision course, right? What happens when that official top-down story smacks right into the messy, personal, lived memories of the people who actually call a place home?
To really dig into this clash, let's look at monuments in 3 different ways. First up, think of a memorial as a text. Just like a book, you can read it to understand who had the power to write that story into the landscape. But just as important, you have to read for what's not there. What stories or what people have been completely erased from the page. Okay, second way to see it. A memorial is an arena. It's not some static object with one fixed meaning. It's a battleground for conflicting stories. This is what we call dissonant heritage. For one group of people, a statue might be a symbol of national pride. For another group, it's a painful, daily reminder of oppression. That physical spot becomes the arena where those powerful memories clash.
And third, and this might be the most powerful one, a memorial is a performance. I mean, think about it. A statue is just a hunk of bronze until people do something with it. Its meaning gets activated by our actions. An official parade celebrating the statue, that's one kind of performance. A protest demanding its removal, that's a very different one. The performance is what gives the stone its power right here, right now. So if we pull this all together, we really end up with 2 fundamentally different ways of seeing heritage. On the one hand, you've got this, the authorized version. This is the world of the AHD, the grand, the official, the special places that the experts have decided are worthy of protection.
But then you have this, everyday heritage, the mundane, maybe even the ugly, but the deeply loved places.
That community garden, that street corner, that local pub. The places that are defined not by experts, but by us.
So what exactly is everyday heritage? Well, it's those places we might not even think of as heritage at first. Their value doesn't come from some fancy architectural style or how old they are. It comes from emotion, from personal attachment, from the role these places play in our daily lives and our memories. And that's exactly why it's so often completely invisible to the official experts.
So this is a good moment to just pause and ask yourself, what places hold your memories? What's your everyday heritage? I bet it's not a castle. It might be a park bench, or a particular street corner, or the front steps of your first apartment.
Okay, so it's becoming pretty clear that heritage, whether it's the big, authorized kind or the small, everyday kind, is far from some passive relic of the past. It is an active, powerful tool that planners, governments, and all of us use to shape our identity, our economy, and our future.
And Gregory Ashworth gives us this fantastic framework for understanding this. He argues that the past is basically used in planning in three main ways: as a resource, as a process, and as an outcome.
First up, heritage as a resource. This is the most straightforward one. The past gets treated like a commodity, something you can package and sell. Think of heritage tourism at a place like Machu Picchu, or a city branding itself as the medieval city. It's all about using history to create jobs and bring in money.
Second, and this one's much more political, is heritage as a process. This is where the past gets used to build a sense of national identity. Governments put up monuments to legitimize their own power, and they design museums to teach all of us how to be good citizens by telling a very specific moral version of history. And third, we have heritage as an outcome. Now, this is what most of us think of when we hear historic preservation. The goal here is basically defensive, to stop a physical thing from being destroyed. We're saving the building for the building's sake.
Now, underpinning all of this is the idea of collective memory. See, memory isn't just something that exists inside our individual heads. It's a social thing. Groups, from our families all the way up to entire nations, create shared stories of the past to build a sense of us, a deep feeling of belonging. And this brings us to one final crucial question. We know that our collective memories need physical places to anchor them. A monument, a home, a landscape. So what happens to us, to our sense of who we are as a community, when the very places that hold those shared memories disappear? It's a question that forces us all to think really critically about what we choose to save and what we're willing to let go.